Claire moved quietly around the dining table, setting plates of roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and vegetables in front of everyone. She didn't say much, only smiled politely when her mother-in-law Evelyn made a comment about how good the food smelled. Marcus, her husband, was in his usual place at the head of the table. He spoke loudly, his voice filling every corner of the room, as if everyone had come just to hear him talk. Evelyn laughed at every word her son said, her eyes shining with pride. She barely looked at Claire except to criticize small things. The gravy was too thick, the bread too soft, the wine not chilled enough. Claire had learned long ago to bite her tongue, to let the words pass without protest, but each jab still cut deep, leaving invisible scars. "Marcus, you've always had such a sharp mind," Evelyn said, tapping her son's hand proudly. "Your father would have been so proud of you." Marcus smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Well, I didn't get much help from this one," he said suddenly, nodding in Claire's direction. His voice dropped just enough for it to sting. "She doesn't contribute anything. Honestly, she's practically worthless." The table went silent for a second. Claire froze with the serving spoon still in her hand. Her heart thudded in her chest. Her cheeks burned, but before she could speak, Evelyn chuckled. "Marcus, don't be too hard on her," Evelyn said, though her tone was far from kind. "Not every woman is cut out to be useful. Some are just there." She gave Claire a pitying smile, as if she were some poor creature who couldn't help being so small, so insignificant. Marcus laughed with his mother, shaking his head as if Claire's existence were a joke shared only between them. Claire lowered her gaze, carefully placing the spoon back into the bowl before taking her seat. She folded her hands in her lap to stop them from trembling. The food sat on her plate untouched. She could hear Marcus continuing to brag about his latest case at work, Evelyn chiming in to praise him, the two of them trading laughter back and forth as if Claire wasn't even there. To them, she was invisible. Or worse, a shadow meant only to serve. Claire forced herself to swallow the bitterness in her throat. She lifted her glass of water and took a slow sip, masking the fire that burned behind her calm face. Her lips curved into the faintest of smiles, though it was not one of agreement. It was one of resolve. She looked briefly at her daughter Lily, seated beside her, quietly eating and pretending not to notice the tension. Claire's chest tightened. She would not let her little girl grow up thinking this was normal, that this was love. Inside, beneath the weight of humiliation, something hard and unbreakable formed. She spoke no words aloud, but her heart whispered a vow, strong and steady. One day they'll see. She sacrificed her career dreams to support Marcus through law school. When they first married, Claire had dreams of becoming a designer. She loved creating things, sketching ideas, and working with her hands. But when Marcus decided to pursue law, he needed her. He couldn't work enough hours to cover both tuition and living costs. So Claire stepped aside. She worked, saved, and cut back on her own dreams so that he could study without worry. She told herself it was love, that they were building a future together. Now years later, Marcus was a lawyer. He wore fine suits, spoke with confidence, and enjoyed the respect of his colleagues. But Claire's life looked very different. She spent most of her days running the household, taking care of their daughter Lily, who was now 8, and trying to keep things calm whenever Evelyn, Marcus's mother, came around. To everyone else, it looked like Claire had the easy life of a housewife. No office hours, no boss to answer to. But Claire knew better. She woke early to cook, cleaned every corner of the house, helped Lily with homework, and managed everything behind the scenes so Marcus could shine outside. On top of all that, she had quietly started a small online business. It wasn't much at first, selling handmade crafts and simple products. But slowly, people began to notice her work. Orders trickled in, then grew little by little. Claire handled everything alone: packaging, deliveries, late-night planning. But Marcus mocked it. He laughed at her little business, calling it a hobby, not real work. Whenever she showed him a small success, he brushed it off. "That's nothing compared to what I bring in," he would say with a smirk, not knowing, or not caring, how hard she was trying. Marcus himself wasn't as stable as he pretended. He liked to look successful. He bought expensive watches, paid for costly dinners with clients, and rented cars just to impress people. Claire often worried about their finances, but Marcus always told her not to interfere. What she didn't know was that he was hiding debts. He had already borrowed money several times, chasing after quick deals that never worked out. And then there was Evelyn. Claire's mother-in-law had never accepted her fully. Evelyn thought Marcus deserved someone better. Even now, she treated Claire like a servant, always reminding her that she was just a housewife. Whenever Claire tried to speak in family conversations, Evelyn would talk over her or dismiss her words. She praised Marcus endlessly, but looked at Claire as though she were simply filling space. At times Claire felt trapped. She loved Lily with all her heart, and she wanted her daughter to grow up in a stable home. But the weight of Marcus's words, the constant disapproval from Evelyn, and the loneliness of her days pressed down on her. She often wondered who she was anymore. Was she really worthless, as Marcus said? Had she thrown away her dreams for nothing? Yet deep inside, Claire wasn't as weak as they thought. She had learned to keep her strength hidden, to survive quietly. She endured the sharp comments, the dismissive laughter, the cold silences. She told herself she was staying for Lily, that financial insecurity was too frightening, that she had no choice. But there were moments, small flashes, when she felt the fire rise in her. When Evelyn insulted her, when Marcus mocked her business, when Lily's innocent eyes filled with worry during arguments, Claire felt something awaken. She was not worthless. She was not invisible. She had given up her dreams for Marcus once, but she knew she could build something of her own again. The thought scared her, but it also gave her hope. Somewhere beneath her quiet exterior, resilience was waiting. One day, she promised herself, she would stop being just a shadow in her own home. One day, she would show them who she really was. Marcus makes a disastrous financial move. One evening, he came home looking unusually cheerful. He poured himself a glass of wine and leaned back in his chair. "Claire," he said with a grin, "I've just made the smartest move of my life. We're going to be rich." Claire paused, her hands still busy clearing Lily's school things from the table. "What did you do?" she asked carefully. "I invested everything into a real estate deal," Marcus announced proudly. "It's guaranteed. Everyone's doing it. We'll double our money in no time." Claire's stomach tightened. "Everything? What do you mean everything?" "Our savings," Marcus replied, waving his hand as if it was nothing. "Don't worry, it's solid. You wouldn't understand, but trust me." Claire's heart sank. She had begged him before to be careful with money, but Marcus never listened. He always brushed off her worries as if they were childish. She tried again, her voice steady but firm. "Marcus, what if it doesn't work out? That's all we have. Lily's future, the house." "Claire," he interrupted, his tone sharp. "This is why I don't discuss business with you. You never believe in me. You just nag. I need support, not doubt." Within days, the deal collapsed. The guaranteed investment turned out to be a scam. Their savings were gone, every last penny. Calls from creditors started pouring in. Notices from the bank arrived, warning them about missed payments. The house, their only real security, was suddenly at risk. Claire felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her. She tried to stay calm for Lily, but inside she was drowning. Every ring of the phone made her jump. Every knock at the door filled her with fear. Marcus, instead of admitting his mistake, turned his anger on Claire. One evening, as the bills piled higher on the kitchen table, he exploded. "This is your fault," he shouted. "You never supported me. If you had encouraged me instead of doubting me, I wouldn't be under so much pressure. You dragged me down." Claire stared at him in disbelief. Her voice shook, but she forced herself to speak. "Marcus, I warned you. I begged you not to risk everything. How can this be my fault?" Before Marcus could answer, Evelyn's voice cut in. She had come over, as she often did, just in time to join the fight. "If only you were a real wife, Claire," Evelyn said coldly, her eyes filled with disdain. "A good wife stands by her husband no matter what. Maybe Marcus wouldn't be so stressed if he had someone strong beside him instead of this." She gestured at Claire with a dismissive wave. Marcus nodded, almost relieved to have his mother on his side. "Exactly," he said, glaring at Claire. "You make things worse. You don't understand what it means to build a life. You've given me nothing." The words cut through Claire's chest like a knife. She swallowed hard, refusing to cry in front of them. She wanted to scream, to tell Marcus about the years she had sacrificed, the quiet work she put into keeping their lives together. But she stayed silent, because she knew they wouldn't hear her anyway. That night, When the house was quiet, Claire couldn't sleep. She got up for a glass of water and paused outside Marcus's study. The door was slightly open, and she heard his voice low and urgent on the phone. At first, she thought he was talking about the debts. But then, her blood ran cold. "I need to see you," Marcus was saying softly. "Work has been hell, and Claire, well, you know how she is. You're the only one who understands me. Don't worry, she'll never find out." Claire's breath caught. She pressed a hand to her mouth, her heart pounding in her ears. A colleague. Another woman. Not only had he destroyed their savings and blamed her for it, but now he was betraying her in the worst way possible. She backed away quietly, her whole body trembling. In that moment, something shifted inside her. The pain was deep, but beneath it was a steady flame. She realized she was standing at the edge of a breaking point. Marcus and Evelyn saw her as worthless, but she knew she couldn't let this continue forever. She whispered to herself in the darkness, "One day they'll see." Friends distance themselves when Marcus's reputation collapses. At first, people pretended to still be friendly, but Claire noticed the change quickly. Invitations stopped coming. Calls went unanswered. The men who once shook Marcus's hand with respect now avoided him in public. The women who once smiled at Claire at school drop-offs now whispered behind her back. It felt as though the whole world knew about their failure, and the shame sat heavy on Claire's shoulders. Marcus grew angrier each day. He snapped at the smallest things. If dinner was late, if Lily left her toys on the floor, if Claire asked about bills. His pride had taken a blow, and he could not stand it. Evelyn only made things worse. She visited often, insisting that Claire should stand by her man no matter what. "Marriage is about loyalty," she told Claire with sharp eyes. "If Marcus is failing, it's your job to hold him up. Stop whining and be strong for him." But Claire wasn't blind. She could see that Marcus wasn't just failing, he was falling apart. And instead of holding her close, he used her as a target for his bitterness. The shouting became louder in their home. One evening, Marcus yelled so harshly that Lily hid in her room. Later, when Claire went to check on her, Lily looked up with teary eyes and asked the question that broke Claire's heart into pieces. "Mommy," she whispered, "why doesn't Daddy like us anymore?" Claire hugged her tightly, fighting back her own tears. "Daddy's just upset right now," she said softly. But inside, she felt something twist painfully. It wasn't just her own suffering anymore. Lily was beginning to feel the weight of Marcus's cruelty, and Claire knew she couldn't let it crush her daughter. Quietly, Claire began to change. When Marcus wasn't looking, she poured more of her energy into her online business. She made new designs for her handcrafted items, stayed up late working on orders, and taught herself how to market better. To her surprise, people started to notice. A few customers left kind reviews. Then more orders came in. The business that Marcus mocked as a silly hobby was slowly turning into something real. Still, Claire didn't tell Marcus. She kept it hidden like a precious seed, afraid he would stomp it out before it could grow. One day, desperate for guidance, Claire reached out to her sister Julia. They hadn't spoken much in years, after a family fight that had left them estranged. But when Julia picked up the phone, her voice was warm. They met in secret at a small cafe. Julia listened as Claire poured her heart out, about the financial ruin, the insults, Evelyn's cruelty, and now Lily's pain. Julia reached across the table and held her sister's hands. "Claire," she said firmly, "you have to protect yourself, and you have to protect Lily. Marcus isn't your partner anymore. He's your burden. You can't let him destroy you." Claire nodded, tears in her eyes. Julia's words didn't just comfort her, they gave her strength. Meanwhile, Marcus unraveled further. Instead of taking responsibility, he tried to cover his mistakes with more lies. He took out secret loans without telling Claire, borrowing money from dangerous places. Claire discovered one of the letters by accident, hidden in his briefcase. Her stomach sank as she read the words "Final Warning." When she confronted him, Marcus exploded. "You've been snooping through my things? You think you know how to handle money better than me? Don't make me laugh." But the worst moments came in public. At a friend's birthday dinner, the few friends who still bothered to invite them, Marcus lost his temper. When Claire gently corrected him about a detail in his story, he slammed his glass on the table. "Why don't you just shut up for once? You always have to ruin everything." The whole room went silent. Claire felt every eye turned to her. her cheeks burning with shame. She lowered her gaze, forcing herself not to cry, while Marcus leaned back smugly as if he had won some invisible war. That night, Claire lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. She felt the bruise of humiliation pressing against her chest, but she also felt something stronger, anger. Not the wild, screaming kind, but a quiet, steady fire. She had given Marcus everything. She had carried him when he had nothing. And now, he treated her like she was nothing. She turned to look at Lily, sleeping peacefully in her small bed down the hall. That was her reason. That was her strength. She knew then that she could not continue to live under Marcus's shadow forever. The world might think she was weak. Marcus and Evelyn might laugh at her. But she was slowly, quietly building something powerful. Her business, her courage, her resolve. They thought she was worthless. Soon they would see how wrong they were. Foreclosure notice and debt collection arrived on the same morning. Claire found the envelope first. She stood in the kitchen, her hands shaking as she read the words. Their house would be taken if they couldn't pay. Another letter warned of unpaid debts, demanding full payment. Her chest felt heavy, but before she could hide the papers, Marcus stormed in and snatched them from her hands. His face turned red as he read. He crumpled the letters, then threw them across the room. "This is your fault," he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "You've ruined my life, Claire. You never supported me. You dragged me down until everything collapsed." Claire's heart pounded, but this time she didn't shrink back. She had swallowed his anger for years, but not today. She stood tall, her voice firm. "Don't you dare blame me, Marcus. I carried you for years. I gave up my dreams so you could chase yours. I kept this family together while you wasted money trying to impress everyone. And what did I get? Insults. Betrayal. Humiliation." Her hands trembled, but her words did not. "Not anymore. I won't be your punching bag." Marcus blinked, stunned that she had spoken back. For a moment, he looked as though he didn't recognize the woman standing before him. Then his face twisted with rage. "You're nothing without me. You're just a housewife playing with silly crafts online. You'll never survive on your own." Claire's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I'll struggle. But at least I'll be free. And at least I'll know I tried. While you destroyed everything we had." The phone rang suddenly, cutting through the thick silence. Marcus grabbed it, his voice softening as he answered. "Mom, you won't believe what Claire has done to me." But Evelyn's voice on the other end was cold, sharper than Claire had ever heard. "Don't you dare put this on her, Marcus. I warned you. I told you not to waste money, not to embarrass the family. And now look at you. You've ruined our name." Marcus's mouth fell open. "Mom, wait. No." Evelyn snapped. "I told you Claire was worthless, yes. But you? You've proved you're worse. At least she's trying to build something. What have you done? Nothing but shame us. Don't call me again until you've fixed this mess if you can." The line went dead. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the phone as if it had betrayed him. His idol, the one person he always wanted to impress, had turned her back on him. His hands shook, his eyes wide with disbelief. She doesn't mean that," he muttered, but his voice cracked. Claire looked at him, and for the first time, she didn't see power or pride. She saw a broken man, abandoned by the very person he worshipped most. Evelyn had crushed him with a few sharp words. Words that would echo louder than any insult Claire had ever heard. Marcus sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. Claire stood tall, her chest rising and falling with steady breaths. She felt no pity, only release. Years of silence, years of pain. Finally, she had spoken, and finally, Marcus had been forced to face the truth. He was alone now, and he knew it. She takes Lily and moves out, supported by Julia. The decision was not easy, but it was clear. Claire packed only what they truly needed: clothes, Lily's schoolbooks, a few precious keepsakes, and walked out of the house that had once felt like a cage. Julia welcomed them with open arms, giving them a place to stay while Claire figured out the next step. For the first time in years, Claire felt a breath of freedom. With Julia's encouragement, Claire focused fully on her online business. She posted pictures of her handmade crafts, shared her story quietly through her work, and put her heart into every design. To her surprise, people responded. Orders began to flood in. A few of her products went viral online, and soon her small hobby, turned into a thriving business. The same business Marcus had mocked now became her source of independence. Claire used her growing income to rent a small apartment. It wasn't big or fancy, but it was warm, safe, and filled with love. She decorated it with soft colors and simple furniture, making it a place where Lily could laugh without fear. Their little kitchen became the heart of the home, where they cooked together and ate in peace, free from shouting and insults. Claire watched her daughter's smile return, brighter and freer than it had been in years. While Claire's life began to heal, Marcus's world crumbled. News of his reckless deals spread quickly. Clients pulled away. His license was suspended for financial fraud, leaving him without the career he had sacrificed everything for. Friends who once surrounded him at parties and dinners disappeared, not wanting to be associated with his failures. He turned to Evelyn, but even she refused to take his calls. The woman who once praised him as her pride now treated him as a shameful reminder of her own name. Alone in the house, Marcus was consumed by bitterness. The phone stopped ringing. No one knocked at his door. The silence he had once mocked Claire for keeping now surrounded him, heavy and unforgiving. Meanwhile, Claire's business continued to grow. She built new connections, gained loyal customers, and felt her confidence return. She no longer heard Marcus's voice in her head telling her she was worthless. Instead, she heard Lily's laughter, Julia's support, and the quiet strength of her own determination. She had stepped into her own power, not through anger or revenge, but through courage and resilience. What had once broken her had now become the foundation of her strength. And this time, she was building her life not for Marcus, not for Evelyn, but for herself and her daughter. She sits with Lily in their new apartment, the small dining table set with 2 plates of pasta and a simple salad. The room is warm, lit by a soft lamp in the corner. It isn't big or fancy, but it feels safe, filled with peace instead of shouting. Lily giggles as she twirls spaghetti on her fork, her eyes bright and happy again. Claire watches her daughter with quiet joy, feeling lighter than she had in years. For the first time, dinner isn't filled with tension or cruel words. It's just the two of them, mother and daughter, sharing a moment of calm. "Mommy," Lily said suddenly, her voice soft but sure. She set her fork down and looked straight at Claire. "You're not worthless. You're the strongest person I know." Claire froze, her chest tightening. Tears filled her eyes, blurring the sight of her little girl's earnest face. Of all the things she had lost, her marriage, her home, her old life, this one moment made everything worth it. She reached across the table, holding Lily's small hand in her own. "Thank you, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice trembling. She sat there, heart full, realizing that Lily's words were the only affirmation she would ever need. Not Marcus's approval, not Evelyn's acceptance, not society's expectations. Just this truth, spoken by her daughter, shining brighter than all the pain. Claire smiled through her tears, her voice steady now. "Worthless? No. I finally know my worth." Hi friends, thank you so much for staying till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.